This is a look at standard blue-black zombies. We don't have all that many straight two-color decks in standard. We'll see a lot of two colors with a splash, or even four colors. We're straight blue-black, but we're actually more of a controlling late-game type of deck with some awesome synergies, some graveyard synergies. The mana base is pretty straightforward. We've got our Choked Estuaries and Sunken Hollow, the basic blue-black land. There is no man land in blue-black, unfortunately. Mostly swamps, because we do have some effects that we need a lot of black mana for, and we only have two different blue cards in the main deck. So we are a zombie theme deck. Most of our creatures are zombies, but we also have ways of putting zombie tokens into play, which we'll get into in a minute here. And Dark Salvation is one of those late game effects. As you see, Crypt Breaker is another one of those effects. So Crypt Breaker comes down on turn 1. You can start churning out 2/2s immediately, and it's a source of card draw. Once you get those 3 zombies into play, or even the turn you cast Crypt Breaker, you may already have zombies in play. You can start picking up cards immediately. And yeah, I mean, your opponent really does have to answer it, or it will grind out the game. Most people know of it as a limited bomb, where you play it on turn 1 and you just win the game a lot of the time. And the same thing can happen in Constructed, but it's also good later in the game. We've got 4 copies of Grasp of Darkness, the best black removal spell in the format, and we've got plenty of black mana, so 4 Grasp makes sense. There's 2 Relentless Deads. Some people like Relentless Dead a lot. I think it's the worst zombie in the deck. Still fine. There's 2 copies. Not really happy when I'm drawing multiples of them. 4 copies of Jace Vryn's Prodigy. This is a great madness outlet, so we've got some madness stuff going on here. It also helps us put our cards that we want in the graveyard, and it flips. It's great. We all know about Jace. This is the perfect deck for it. No, Jace is not a zombie, but it's still a perfect fit for this strategy. Prized Amalgam works very well with Haunted Dead. Prized Amalgam is also a zombie, so we're putting in our graveyard. Then we're getting Haunted Dead out of our graveyard. Prized Amalgam triggers, comes back, and we can do all sorts of shenanigans with that sort of a combination. 2 copies of Ruinous Path, another removal spell. 3 Liliana the Last Hope. Liliana works well in the deck because the milling is important. We want to be milling our Prized Amalgams and Haunted Deads. And it's just a good card in this format. Haunted Dead, as I mentioned before, it's a perfect madness outlet. So we do have Voldaren Pariah at the top of our curve here, and that's kind of our finisher. It can wrath our opponent's board pretty easily. You get to 5, and you can either activate a Jace, you can activate Crypt Breaker, you can return Haunted Dead, and all of a sudden you have 3 creatures on the board. The Pariah gets madnessed in, then you sack them all, your opponent's board is gone, you're left with a 6/5 flyer, and everything is hunky-dory. And we've got 2 Distended Mindbenders here. Mindbender is great when you curve Prized Amalgam into it, or you can Haunted Dead into it on turn 5. And just being able to disrupt your opponent's hand is quite nice. You don't mind putting an Amalgam or a Haunted Dead in the graveyard. And then there's also 3 copies of Dark Salvation. Dark Salvation is a removal spell that it gives a creature -X/-X equal to the number of zombies you have in play, and the double X also gives you 2/2 zombies. So it's a pretty cool card. It's great with Crypt Breaker. It's great with the whole zombie theme, and it's a removal spell. So been actually quite impressed with Dark Salvation. The main deck is pretty tight, but we've got a lot of wiggle room in the sideboard. A bunch of different counter spells here. 2 Clash of Wills, 2 Negate, your typical counter magic, and then also 2 Summary Dismissal. We're seeing Summary Dismissal a lot more with cards like Emrakul running around. And some discard as well. 2 copies of Transgress the Mind. There's also 3 Languish. So we're not playing Languish in the main, but we do have it in the board primarily for the White Humans matchup. And then the Risen Executioners, they can come back from your graveyard, so they're another zombie that you want in your yard. You can replay it from there. It can also pump your entire zombie squad, which is pretty cool. And then the Call the Bloodlines, they're basically for the blue-red Fevered Visions matchup in order to be able to have another discard outlet and make some lifelinkers. They're pretty good there. So this is the blue-black zombies deck, and I'm anxious to get going and playing some matches with it.